guys, today I want to talk about comfort zones because if I can be honest, all of us have them, but not all of us are willing to move beyond them. If you're new to comfort zones are self-imposed boundaries that we refuse to push beyond, typically because even thinking about it or talking about it or wanting to do it can stir feelings of fear, anxiety, overwhelm, frustration, all the things. And while I can understand why it's easy to stay in your comfort zone because it's comfortable, it's familiar, you feel in control, and you feel safe, the reality is there's absolutely no growth in your comfort zone. And the longer you remain in your comfort zone is the longer you remain stagnant. And I'm a firm believer that we should constantly be growing in the direction of our dreams. We should constantly be looking for ways to move and move beyond who we are so that we can step into the next level version of who we're called to be. The problem is, if we get consumed in all of the things that can go wrong with our comfort zone, we'll never be wanting to move beyond it. And I always tell people that comfort zones are an illusion because while they feel safe, while they feel familiar, while they feel like you're in control, it's actually almost like a prison because it keeps you really stuck and it keeps you trapped. The good news is it doesn't have to keep being that way. Today, I'm going to share a strategy that I use to break free of my comfort zone. And I'll be honest, it requires quite a few steps, but once you know it, once you understand it, you'll be able to continue to use it. And the good thing is, once you have it understood, is the fact that you can repeat it and reuse it, because I believe that with each up level you take, the more you can kind of run into that comfort zone, because we're creatures of habit. We like to fall back in where it's safe. We like to fall back to where it's comfortable. We like to fall back where it's familiar. But having this system in place, really understanding it, and more importantly, applying it, will help you to keep breaking through that self-imposed comfort zone time and time and time again. So I'm so excited to share it with you today. So the first step is to become aware of your comfort zone as well as what's outside of your comfort zone. Take a moment and check in with yourself and think about what are those things that you feel like it's so worth it to do, but you're dealing with a lot of fear and a lot of resistance. One little strategy that I like to use is drawing a circle and letting your circle be your comfort zone and writing all of the things that fall in your comfort zone, all of the habits, the beliefs, the patterns, behaviors, all those things. And then writing what exists in your growth zone, which is beyond your comfort zone. What do you see? What do you hear? What do you feel? What opportunities are created outside of that? And take an opportunity to really dig deep and reflect on what this means and looks like. When you actually have to draw it out and list it out, you actually have to confront it, which causes you to confront some of those internal thoughts, some of those internal beliefs that are preventing you from moving in the direction that you know you're called to move into. The second step is to get information. I cannot stress enough how important it is to be informed, because the reality is typically we feel fear or anxiety because we feel like we don't know what's getting ready to happen. We feel fear stepping out of our comfort zone because we don't know what exists out there. We don't know if we could possibly fail. We don't know if we could possibly succeed. But the great news is the more information you get about the possible options, the possible outcomes, the more you can make informed decisions moving forward. So some suggestions would be reading an article about the specific way in which you want to step out of your comfort zone and the topic as it relates to it. Talking to someone who's done it before. So for example, let's say that you're ready to start your business. You're ready to get a business off the ground. Talk to somebody who owns a business and ask them what they did to move beyond their comfort zone. Read books. Get yourself as much information as possible, because information is so powerful and it allows you to step into your power. The next step is to get clear about what it is that you're aiming to overcome. So you can look at your little chart that maybe you drew or just dig deep and reflect. But what is it that you're trying to overcome? Are you fearful that if you do public speaking, people will laugh at you? Allow yourself to feel all those emotions and then ask yourself, what is the worst case scenario? And if that took place, what would you do? And every time I get here and I get to this part of getting all in my feelings, I say, okay, the worst case scenario is, let's say people will laugh at me. I'll feel overwhelmed. I'll feel made fun of. But guess what I'll do? I'll learn from that experience. I'll pick up the pieces. I'll take feedback and adjust and move forward accordingly. A lot of times we get so consumed in the worst case scenario, which 9 times out of 10 pretty much never happens. That's just our overthinking pattern. But even if the worst case scenario happens, you are so powerful and you'll still know how to recover beyond that. The fourth strategy is to create a plan. Now, there's an old saying that says, how do you eat an elephant? You eat an elephant one bite at a time, meaning you cannot expect to overcome your comfort zone or jump out of your comfort zone like this. It is going to take small, little, tiny baby steps to be able to get you there. So create a plan that helps you to slowly but surely step out of that comfort zone. The problem is if you try to rush out of your comfort zone, your body, because we're creatures of habit, is going to pull you back into your comfort zone because you're trying to do too much too quick. And again, we want to go where it's safe, where it's familiar. That's just the way that's the way we're built. So for example, if you're like, I really, really want to get exposure online. So you decide that you want to do lives, start creating a plan around that. Maybe instead of just going live right away, maybe you start doing pre-recorded videos and then uploading them. Maybe you start by practicing a live in front of your family or your friends. Maybe you start going live, but you go live for 1 minute to say, hi guys, I just wanted to stop in and say hi. And then you pop off and you build it up to 2 minutes and up to 3 minutes. The point is break it into bite-sized and manageable chunks so that you can create an opportunity to create a plan that puts you in a path to succeed and not a plan that overwhelms you and gives you reasons to fall back into your comfort zone. The next step is to identify challenges. Let's be honest, when we do something new, we are going to run into challenges. But if you identify the challenges in advance, you can make adjustments to prevent the idea that you may run into them more frequently. So to leave your comfort zone, you have to recognize that the challenges exist and identify the key strategies that you're going to do to overcome them. So for example, if you know that a challenge is going to be time management, how can you begin to set your alarm clock to wake up earlier to avoid or to prevent those challenges? The second step kind of that goes along with that, but is an additional step, is identifying that along with those challenges is that failure may be a challenge that you're fearful of running into. So how can you see failure as a teacher? How can you embrace failure and still continue to move in the direction? Many times we try to run from failure, but I always say that failure is our greatest teacher. Failure is the opportunity to try again, but with more information, with a better framework, with a better foundation. Some of the most successful people are successful because they failed. I think of Thomas Edison when I think of this. He created the light bulb, but he literally failed hundreds of times before he was able to succeed and create the light bulb. But he didn't see it as a failure. He saw it as opportunities that didn't work that he built upon to become more successful each additional time after that. So embrace failure, be willing to learn from failure, be willing to apply failure so that you can take it, apply it, and be more successful as you're moving into that direction of your success. So the seventh step is to identify your propellers. So while we have those things, those barriers that can prevent our success, we also have things that will help us to succeed faster, and I call those propellers. So what are things that you need that will propel you in the direction of your success to get out of your comfort zone? Do you need an accountability partner? Do you need to write down your goal and your focus every single day in your planner? What are the things that you need to have in place that are going to help you to be the most successful that you can possibly be? The next step is probably one of my favorites because it is what gives you a little sample or a little taste of what it's like to get out of your comfort zone, but more on a regular basis. So it is getting comfortable with discomfort. The only way out of your comfort zone is to make a decision that you're ready to get out of your comfort zone. And then the next step is to start taking action towards it. And this step is going to give you that opportunity to do that. And so what I mean by that is consider what are small little steps that you can take every day that make you a little bit uncomfortable but help you to normalize being uncomfortable, because in order to grow, we have to be uncomfortable. In order to growth feels sometimes like pain. Growth sometimes feels pretty uncomfortable, but the outcome is so worth it. So for example, if you want to do more public speaking, how can you start forcing yourself into those opportunities more? Maybe go live a little bit here. Maybe you're a really big introvert and you're like, I don't want to connect with people, but I recognize in order to expand my brand or my business, I need to start talking to people a little bit more. Talk to a stranger, compliment a stranger on their shirt. Do small things that make you uncomfortable a little bit each day, and it'll help you to make it a little bit more normalized, because part of the process is getting comfortable being uncomfortable. For me, I'm not really good with directions. Like, I don't drive anywhere without a map, even if I've been there 100 times, just because I don't trust myself enough to drive there without a map, right? I don't trust myself enough to remember it, and I get like all flustered. So for me recently, I was going to visit my godson. I've been there quite a few times. They just moved. So I've probably been there 4 or 5 times. 4 or 5 times, I'll say. And I decided to drive there without a map. Yes, I got flustered. Sure, I got really anxious. I got a little bit scared, but it was my practice that day to get comfortable being uncomfortable. I like to make that a regular practice because I know that when I'm uncomfortable, it's typically a telltale sign that I'm also growing as well. And the same goes for you. The next step is to hang out with risk takers. There is no substitute for this step because research says that you are the average of the top 5 people you spend the most amount of time with. And if you're spending time with people that like to stay in their comfort zone or normalize staying in their comfort zone, you're going to remain in your comfort zone and normalize it as well. But if you hang out with people that lead by example, that are constantly stepping out of their comfort zone, that are constantly growing in the direction of their dreams, they're going to lead by example, and you're going to be inspired to also step out of your comfort zone and into your growth zone. So surround yourself with people that are creating this kind of lifestyle so that you can begin to create this type of lifestyle as well. All right, we're almost getting there, guys. Thanks for kicking it with me. I promise this is going to be so worth it. So the 10th step on the journey of getting out of your comfort zone is being honest with yourself when you're trying to make excuses. I mentioned earlier that we're creatures of habit. So when you try to move beyond your comfort zone, you're going to find yourself being drawn back into it. And you'll find all of the excuses under the sun as a rationale for why you should stay in your comfort zone. But instead of making excuses, be real about the basis for that excuse. So for example, instead of saying, I don't have the time to do this, say, I feel fear around making this decision today. Because when you confront your excuses and you're honest about your excuses, it makes you feel like, oh my gosh. People always say like, I don't have time. And I'll say, you're not making time. You're choosing not to make time. And that forces us to really be honest with ourselves, to really dig deep about where that fear is surfacing from, why we're making that decision, and more importantly, how we can shift beyond that so that excuses are no longer keeping us stuck and stagnant and trapped. So be real with yourself about why you're making those excuses and how you can move beyond those excuses. When you shift beyond that, you're in a better place to understand what's truly bothering you, address what it is that's truly bothering you, and increase your chance of success moving forward. Then we move into step number 11, which is identifying how your comfort zone and moving beyond that is going to benefit you. The reality is you could feel a lot of motivation. You can feel a lot of momentum in the beginning when you say, okay, I know this is my comfort zone. I know this is my growth zone. I'm so excited for what my growth zone holds. But if you don't have a strong reason behind it, if you're not holding tight to that vision, that momentum and that motivation is going to fade. So what I like to do is I like to really get in touch with my growth zone. And I identify what opportunities exist in my growth zone, what it looks like, what I'll feel, what I'll accomplish, what kind of example I'll be able to set for other people. And I really list that out. I'll even visualize that involving all of my senses. What do I feel? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I taste? What do I smell? Involving all of that so that it feels really real. And I know that it's available for me. I'll even look at somebody else who has moved into that growth zone as an example, as a motivating force. And then I'll think about, okay, this is my comfort zone. This is my growth zone. What is preventing me from getting there? And why is it so important for me to get there? When I hone in on that why, and I create a strong why, a powerful why, what I notice is that I have more motivation and more momentum to keep pushing in that direction. So I challenge you to do the same thing. Feel all the feels as it relates to your growth zone. Identify what it looks like. Identify what this means for you. And then identify your reason why you need to get there. And hold tight to that why. Make that why a priority. Remember, like that why is what's going to give you that motivation and momentum. So for example, if you're like, I really want to start a business because I hate my job and I think my job is stupid. That's not a strong enough why, because you may just go look for another job to replace it. But if you're like, I want to start a business because I know this is an opportunity for my voice to be all over the world and for me to have a greater impact. Now, those moments when you're like, oh man, I got to wake up early to go live and I'm scared to go live. You're going to say, you know what? It's not about me. It's about the impact that I could potentially have on someone who needs to hear the message that I need to get across. That why is going to keep you showing up day after day after day. That why is going to keep you committing to taking steps intentionally outside of your comfort zone and in the direction of your growth zone. So identify that why and identify what that growth zone looks like and hold tight to that. Finally, we're here. Thank you for sticking with me. We are on the last step, which is give yourself grace. This is step number 12. Give yourself grace. The journey of stepping out of your comfort zone to your growth zone is a difficult one. Hence why most people remain in their comfort zone, because that is safe, that is familiar, and that is comfortable. And it requires stepping out in fear, overcoming anxiety, and sometimes even pain to be able to move into your growth zone. And so that's why it can become difficult. So I want you to provide yourself grace. There may be moments where you do really well, and may be moments where you have setbacks. If you have setbacks, pick it up, dust yourself off, and try again. Rest in peace, Aaliyah. Love you so much. But pick it up and try again. Dust yourself off. Don't beat yourself up. And even sometimes I talk to clients all the time who become unforgiving of themselves in the past when they're like, I should have stepped out of my comfort zone 10 years ago because I'd be so much farther. Forgive yourself and understand that each day is an opportunity to move in more intentionally, to make more aligned decisions, and to move closer in the direction of your success, of your growth zone, and of the outcome that you desire and deserve. So give yourself grace, forgive yourself for your past, and continue to make intentional and aligned decisions every single day. Even if you have a setback, even if you have a success, keep moving forward. So again, thank you so much for sticking with me. I know that was lengthy, but what I will tell you is getting out of your comfort zone is not just one simple step, right? It requires commitment. It requires consistency. It requires discipline. And while it requires all of that, remember that it is so worth it. And the great part is now you have a strategy that works. I use it with myself. I use it with my other clients. I use it all the time, right? You have a strategy that works because remember, each up level you have, you may run back into that comfort zone. And it is your choice that you get to make to move beyond that comfort zone so that you're constantly growing. And now you have the skills to be able to do just that. So I hope that you all have an absolutely amazing day. Thank you for sticking with me. And I will check in and chat with you all later.